Hey everyone, it's Crystal from Stallin's Way. Happy Friday. I just wanted to do a quick video. I've been getting a lot of messages on our page, which is great, from parents who are concerned and think that their kids may be on the spectrum. And they are wondering what some of the early warning signs, especially with young children, are, and looking for some information on that. So I just thought that I would do a video and kind of share some of the early warning signs that we saw with Stalin. As many people know, Stalin was diagnosed quite young. We received his diagnosis at 21 months, but we knew pretty early, around 15 months, that something was up, and I knew for sure at 16 months that I believed he was on the spectrum. So I just want to share what some of those warning signs are. Obviously, every kid is different, so the warning signs are different, but you know, the best thing to do is, if you have concerns, is to talk to your doctor and go from there. But I'm really happy that so many parents are recognizing that something may be wrong, or sharing their concerns and looking to investigate them further, because I think it's really important. The best thing you can do for your child is, if something is going on, to find out what it is and get them the supports and services that they need, so that they can be successful. So one of the first big things with Stalin was the language, so loss of language. So he had pretty normal development. He had probably 11 words and was making lots of sounds, and then all of a sudden one day, just without any warning, he went quiet. So no words, no sounds, really nothing. He had a lot of texture issues, especially with eating. So he preferred like very smooth foods. He was gagging a lot. He had a lot of sensory issues. So he didn't like to touch certain materials. He didn't like the feel of anything in his hand. So he didn't like to hold a spoon, hold a cheesy. He would gag a lot. He couldn't settle down. He needed to constantly be moving. So he was always like sensory seeking. So walking around with his eyes closed, spinning, climbing on things, walking backwards. We saw a lot of repetitive behaviors. So he was just doing the same things over and over. And one of the things that I realize now that I didn't then, even before it was even on my radar, that one of the things that he was doing and that was really repetitive was clearing his throat a lot. So making like a sound to clear his throat. But now I realize that was just a repetitive behavior. He was flapping his hands a lot, especially like in front of his eyes, and rocking and spinning a lot. He really had no interest in other people, whether it was a child or an adult. He could be in a room full of people, and you would think that he was the only person in the room. He was really in his own world. He had missed some milestones, things like waving or kissing or blowing a kiss, smiling. He did not follow a point. So if you were like, oh, what is that? And you pointed, he wouldn't follow the gaze of your finger. He didn't respond to his name. So you could say his name 100 times and you wouldn't look. He had some restricted interests. So he wasn't really interested in toys. He was more interested in things like lights. He was obsessed with light. And things like moving fans or anything that had like moving pieces. He was really fixated on them. He didn't really make eye contact. He did not like change, so routine was really important, and he was really rigid in his choices, even with food. So things needed to be a particular way, in particular bowl, a particular cup, particular brands of food. So he seemed to have an intense reaction to things like noises. So really loud noises would set him off. Strong scents, so like perfume and things like that, would really bother him. We had a lot of problems with sleep, so when it came time for bed, he couldn't calm or settle himself down. And that was a big problem when he was young. I put him to bed at the same time every night, but it would take like 5 or 6 hours, and he would just be constantly moving, and I would have to lay down with him and hold him in place or restrain his movement to finally get him to go to sleep. Not fun. So those are really the big things that were kind of early warning signs with Stalin. One of the things that I did was I did take him to somebody like a speech language pathologist, and I had a consultation just to see sort of what they thought was going on with speech. And I also took him and had his hearing tested, because sometimes ear problems can affect language. So you kind of want to do those things just to get an idea and rule some things out. The other thing that I found was helpful, as things were sort of popping up or new concerns or behaviors were emerging, I made a list so that when it was time to go to the doctor, it can be a little overwhelming, and you always leave and was like, oh, I should have told them this, or I should have asked about that. So even now, I still make lists for all of our appointments, because it can get a little overwhelming when you're in front of a doctor and you're trying to think of what you want to talk about and what you want to ask about, and they're asking you questions. So a list is usually really helpful. So like I said, if you have concerns, the best thing to do is to talk to your doctor and try to address them, and go from there. If you have any further questions, then feel free to send me a message. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend.